She was just a poor village girl, broken, homeless, and branded a witch by the very people meant to protect her. At night, she cried on the cold floor of an incomplete building, begging God not to forget her. But fate was watching, silently preparing a twist no one in her village could ever imagine. Because the blind beggar she was forced to marry was not who he claimed to be. What happened next will shock you and inspire you. Before we begin, please like, share, comment, and subscribe so you never miss our emotional and life-changing stories. Let's dive in. Papa Chicky lay half under an old Peugeot 504, his legs sticking out, trousers smeared with grease. He hummed a cheerful tune, what Amaka had heard all her life, a rhythm that meant everything was okay. 18-year-old Amaka stood nearby with her exercise book clutched tightly to her chest. Her faded gown hung loosely on her slim frame, and her old-school sandals were patched twice, but her eyes held a brightness that nothing, not poverty, not hardship, could dim. "Papa," she said teasingly, "if you stay under this car any longer, it will swallow you." He chuckled, his voice echoing under the steel beast. "Nan, if this car swallows me, it will vomit me back. I am the only one who knows its stubbornness." She laughed softly. These moments were her treasure, quiet mornings filled with hope and love, even in the middle of lack. Papa Chicky slid out from under the car, wiping sweat and engine oil from his forehead. His face, though tired, lit up the moment his eyes fell on his daughter. "Amaka M," he said, pointing his greasy finger at her. "One day, you will not smell engine oil like me. You will smell books and perfume. You will sit in an office with air conditioner, speaking big English." She rolled her eyes affectionately. "Papa, leave this your mouth. Where is your air-conditioned office? This your workshop that leaks more than our zinc?" But he didn't laugh this time. He removed his cap, revealing an uneven patch of gray hair, and looked at her with a seriousness that tightened her throat. "If it is my last money on this earth, I will use it to send you to school," he said quietly. "You will not end up like me. I didn't go far in school. That is why you see me lying under cars like goat. But you," he tapped her chest with the tip of the spanner, "you will rise." His words entered deep, deeper than she could express. Sometimes at night she would replay them in her heart like a lullaby. "Papa," she whispered, "I promise I will make you proud." He nodded, smiling. "I know. God did not give me a child. He gave me a future." They spent the morning working together. Amaka passed tools to him, scribbled notes into her book, and helped bargain with customers. Every time she spoke English, her father's face would glow. "Correct," he would shout. "Did you hear my daughter? She will soon be reading news on TV." Laughter filled the workshop, and for a moment life felt full. Poor, yes, but full. That evening they ate roasted yams with red oil beside their small kerosene lantern. Papa Chicky told her stories of how he wanted to be an engineer when he was young but had no one to push him. "You are my second chance," he said, chewing slowly. "When I look at you, I see everything I could have been." She reached across the wooden table and squeezed his hand. "And when I look at you, I see the strongest man in the world." That night she read to him from an old English textbook. He lay on his raffia mat, smiling with closed eyes, humming softly as her voice floated through the room. They slept peacefully, unaware that fate was already shifting under their feet. It was before dawn, the rooster crowed sharply. Amaka stirred on her small mat, stretching lazily. The room was dim, lit only by the last flicker of the dying lantern. Something felt strange, too quiet, too still. "Papa?" she called softly. No answer. She sat up. The workshop radio was silent. The soft morning cough her father always made did not come. Her heartbeat quickened. "Papa?" she said again, louder. Still nothing. She crawled towards him and touched his arm, cold, too still, too stiff. "Papa," her voice cracked. "Papa, wake up. It's morning." She shook him gently, then harder. "Papa, Papa, please wake up." Her cry split the room like lightning. Neighbors heard. Doors flew open. People rushed in with lanterns, their faces half lit and frightened. A woman pressed 2 fingers to his neck. Another touched his chest. Then came the whisper that stabbed her heart. He is gone. Amaka clutched his lifeless body, wailing. Her tears soaked his shirt. She shook him violently. You promised me. Papa, you said you will send me to school. Papa, don't leave me. But death is a thief that never returns stolen things. The women pulled her away gently as the men covered his body. By midday, the cheap wooden coffin was hammered together. Neighbors gathered under the mango tree, murmuring prayers, offering shallow consolations. They lowered him into the earth as Amaka screamed, trying to climb into the grave. Let me go with him. He was my only family. Papa, Papa, please. Men held her back as dust fell on the coffin, muting her hope, silencing her dreams. Uncle Emmanuel stood at the side, wiping fake tears, his eyes narrow and calculating. As the last sand was poured, the wind carried away her father's dreams, and fate opened a new chapter she never asked for. That evening, Amaka sat alone outside the empty workshop. The tools were silent. The scent of engine oil lingered in the air like a memory refusing to fade. She hugged her knees and whispered into the coming darkness. Papa, how do I live now? Where do I go? What do I do without you? But the sky offered no answer, only the distant footsteps of a man she did not see, a shabby figure leaning on a walking stick, with dark glasses covering his eyes. He paused near the workshop, listening to her soft sobs. Then slowly, silently, he walked away. Her story had just begun. The days following Papa Chickie's burial moved like slow, heavy clouds, thick with grief and whispers. In a village like Umuagara, nothing stayed secret for long. Death brought sympathy for one day and suspicion for the next. At first, neighbors came with plates of rice, leftover meat, small words of comfort. But by the third day, the plates stopped coming. The sympathetic faces vanished. And in their place came murmurs Amaka pretended not to hear. Chickie was strong yesterday, oh. How did he just die like that? Something is not ordinary. That girl, always reading book. Who knows what she is doing in the night? Amaka tried to shut their voices out. She swept the compound, washed the plates, cleaned her father's workshop one last time. When evening came, she forced herself to sleep, hoping that her uncle, Emmanuel, would keep his promise and take care of her. But by the fourth day, the mask of kindness began to fall. Uncle Emmanuel lived in a compound with 2 wives, 5 noisy children, and enough farmland to feed his family. When Amaka arrived with her small bag and swollen eyes, his first wife, Auntie Beauty, welcomed her with a stiff smile. Come in, Amaka. You can stay in the small room near the kitchen, she said, avoiding eye contact. Amaka bowed her head gratefully. The room was tiny, barely large enough for a mat, but to a grieving girl it felt like shelter. She swept it, spread her raffia mat, and whispered a prayer of thanks. She wanted to be helpful. She cooked, swept, fetched water from the stream, washed plates, and helped plait the younger girl's hair. She forced smiles even when her heart felt like a broken calabash. For a moment she thought maybe, just maybe, she could survive. But Uncle Emmanuel's eyes followed her with a strange intensity, like someone studying a riddle. One evening after she had washed the plates, she heard voices leaking through the thin mud wall of her room. Auntie Beauty's voice trembled. Emmanuel, the girl has been working since morning. Leave her to rest. He replied sharply. Do you know how her father died? Amaka paused, sponge still in her hand. How? Auntie whispered. He leaned closer, lowering his voice but not enough. She killed him. Amaka froze. Auntie gasped. What are you saying, Amaka? That respectful girl? You think these witches show disrespect? He hissed. I warned my brother. I told him, this your daughter is doing too much. Reading book like she wants to fly. Keeping late night with lantern. These children, when they are too smart, it is not ordinary. Amaka pressed her hand against her mouth, fighting a sob. Auntie Beauty spoke cautiously, but Doctor said his heart just failed. Doctor? Emmanuel scoffed. When did village doctor become God? Look, I know what I am pointing. That girl is a witch. She drained her father's life with her stubbornness. Amaka stumbled backward, tears streaming silently. A witch? She had cared for her father until his last breath. How could they turn her love into wickedness? She cried quietly that night, burying her face in her wrapper so no one would hear. 3 days later, things grew worse. Uncle Emmanuel invited a prayer warrior known for dramatic deliverances, Prophet Kalichi. By evening, the compound was full of people, watching as the prophet stood over Amaka like a judge over a criminal. "Confess," the prophet shouted, pushing her forehead. "Spirit of witchcraft, release her." Auntie Beauty stood at the back, worried. The children watched with round eyes. Neighbors lingered outside the fence. Amaka knelt, shaking. "I am not a witch," she cried. "I loved my father. I wanted to go to school. I never harmed anyone." The prophet scoffed loudly. "All witches deny. Spirit of stubbornness, speak!" "I am not a witch," she screamed. People murmured. "Oh, Gether. See how she is shouting. She is confessing. These young girls with long dreams. Before you know, they join evil groups." Someone threw sand at her feet. Someone else spat on the ground beside her. That night, Amaka's tears soaked her mat. She felt her father slipping further away. Not because he was gone, but because everyone was rewriting her love story into a curse. The breaking point came unexpectedly. Just before dawn, Uncle Emmanuel stormed into her small room, yanking the door open. "Stand up!" Amaka jumped, frightened. "Uncle, what happened?" "You will not stay in this house another minute," he growled. "Pack your things." She stared, trembling. "Uncle, where will I go?" He grabbed her small bag and flung it outside. Her clothes, washed carefully by her father before he died, fell into the red dust. "You want to kill me too, Abi?" he shouted. "You think I will wait before you finish me? Leave!" "Uncle, please, leave." He raised his hand as if to hit her. She grabbed her clothes and ran barefoot, tears blurring her vision. She did not stop running until she reached the edge of the village. For 2 days, she slept under a tree near the stream, shivering through the cold night breeze. But gossip travels faster than Harmattan wind. Soon the entire village knew. Chike's daughter has been sent out for witchcraft. No wonder her father died suddenly. She is cursed. Nobody wanted her near their compound. Then she found the incomplete building, an abandoned structure with 4 walls and no roof. The cement floor was cold and rough, but it was a place to hide from mocking eyes. She spread her wrapper on the ground and lay down, staring at the stars through the open ceiling. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but the pain in her chest was worse. "Papa," she whispered, "you left me in a world that hates me." But survival is stubborn. Amaka forced herself to work. She woke before dawn, tying a piece of cloth around her hair. She knocked on neighbors' doors, offering to weed their farms, fetch water, carry firewood, wash clothes. Some refused, staring at her as though she carried a plague. Others agreed, but paid her so little that she sometimes worked all day only to buy a handful of gari. Sun burned her skin into a deeper shade. Her soft palms hardened like wood. Her once beautiful feet cracked from walking barefoot. But she endured. Every evening, she dragged herself back to the incomplete building, curling on the ground. Rain sometimes beat through the open roof, soaking her completely. She would hug herself tightly and whisper, "I will not die. Papa would not want me to die." One evening, while returning from the stream with a heavy jerry can on her head, she saw a figure struggling by the roadside. A man, dark glasses, torn shirt, a walking stick tapping unevenly. A blind beggar. Motorcycles zoomed past him, spraying dust. Nobody stopped. Children laughed cruelly. "Blind man, move from the road!" He flinched, confused, nearly stepping into a ditch. Amaka dropped her water, rushed forward, and grabbed his arm gently. "Easy, sir. Come. Let me help you cross." The man lifted his head as if trying to see her through the darkness of his blindness. Though his eyes were hidden, something about the turn of his face told her he was studying her. "Thank you, my daughter," he said softly. "Not many people stop for someone like me." She smiled weakly. "Everybody deserves help." He held her hand for a moment longer than necessary, not in a wrong way, but as though searching for something in her touch. "God will bless you," he said simply. Amaka guided him across the crossroads. waited until he steadied his steps, then hurried off to the stream for more water. She did not look back, but he did, turning his head ever so slightly, listening to her voice fading in the distance as she greeted someone politely. And in that moment, something stirred in the blind man's heart, something that would change both their lives. By midday, the earth felt hot beneath bare feet, and the air buzzed with heat and gossip. Amaka wiped sweat from her forehead as she bent low in Mama Ojugo's cassava farm, pulling stubborn weeds with hands already blistered from days of work. Her body ached, her stomach growled, but she kept going. Every coin mattered. It was the only way she could afford a small plate of gari in the evening. "Amaka!" a voice suddenly called. She lifted her head to see her younger cousin, Ngozi, rushing toward her in dusty slippers. Her breathless expression made Amaka straighten immediately. "What is it?" Amaka asked. Ngozi grabbed her hand urgently. "Uncle says you should come home now," he said immediately. Home, the word tasted like ash. That compound stopped being home the night her clothes were thrown into dust. Still, the fear in Ngozi's eyes told her something was off, something bigger than hunger, bigger than gossip. Amaka dusted her wrapper and followed silently. When they reached the compound, the air felt thick and strange. People had gathered, whispering. Some leaned on the fence. Others watched from the path. Something was happening. In the center of the compound sat the blind beggar she had helped days earlier. He wore the same faded shirt, though it had been carefully washed. His dark glasses shielded his sightless eyes. His walking stick rested across his knees. His posture was humble, but there was something calm and observant about him. Uncle Emmanuel sat across from him, smiling in a way Amaka didn't trust. Wide, fake, dripping with calculation. "There she is," he announced loudly the moment she stepped in. "My brother's daughter, the one we discussed." The blind beggar tilted his head, listening for her footsteps. "So, this is Amaka?" he asked softly. Yes, yes, Emmanuel said, forcing a laugh. "A good girl, hard-working, very respectful." The hypocrisy made bile rise in her throat. "Uncle," she whispered, "what is happening?" He shot her a warning glance that froze her tongue. "Kneel and greet your future husband." Her heartbeat stumbled. Her eyes flew to the blind beggar, then back to Emmanuel. Husband?" she stuttered. "What are you talking about?" The beggar cleared his throat gently. "My daughter, I came to your uncle because I have no family. I am blind, poor, and alone, but I have been watching you from afar. The day you helped me cross the road, I prayed God would give me someone with a heart like yours." His voice was soft, too soft, like someone who meant what he was saying. "I want to marry you," he said simply. "I don't have much, but I will do my best to give you peace." The world spun around her. Uncle Emmanuel clapped his hands. "Yes, a good decision. You see, God has favored you." Favored? Favored? This was not favor. It was a prison sentence disguised as marriage. Amaka swallowed hard. "Uncle, I don't want to marry now. I want to work, maybe save small money. Maybe one day I can still..." Emmanuel slammed his palm against the wooden stool, startling everyone. "You are still dreaming of school?" he snapped. "Are you mad?" She flinched. "Look at you," he continued harshly, "a girl that sleeps in incomplete building. No parents, no future, and someone is here begging to marry you? You better thank God." "But I don't love him," Amaka whispered, her voice cracking. "I don't know him." She looked at the beggar helplessly. He sat still, face unreadable, listening carefully. Emmanuel leaned toward her, lowering his voice into something cold and sharp. "You are forgetting something." His eyes hardened. "That incomplete building you are sleeping in? I know the owner. One word from me, and you will sleep on the road like a dog. Those women giving you small farm jobs? I will tell all of them you confessed to being a witch." Her breath caught. "You will not earn one kobo again," he hissed. "You will starve. You will beg. You will die." She felt her legs weakening. "Uncle, please, marry this man, or I destroy whatever is left of your miserable life." The words hit like stones. The blind beggar's fingers twitched lightly, as if uncomfortable with what he heard. But he said nothing. From that day, Emmanuel declared open war. He marched across the village, telling every farm owner that Amaka must not be given work. She is a witch, he whispered dramatically. She confessed. Keep your children away from her before she destroys your family. Fear spread quickly. Villagers were superstitious. Nobody wanted trouble. Within 2 days, no one hired her again. When she went to the stream to fetch water for people, they refused. No, don't come near my bucket. Go! Mama said you have evil spirit. She returned to the incomplete building hungry, shaking, and hopeless. By the third day, she fainted on her way back from the bush, where she had gone to cut firewood to sell. A passerby poured water on her face and she woke trembling, her body too weak to continue fighting. Uncle Emmanuel's threat became reality. She had no work, no food, no shelter that couldn't be snatched away, no family, not even dignity. So when he called her again, she went, not because she wanted to, but because she had no strength left. When she entered the compound, the blind beggar stood there with his cane, listening for her footsteps. Emmanuel folded his arms. So what is your answer? She looked at him, at the blind man, at the sky, anywhere but her broken reflection inside her heart. If this is the only way I will have peace, her voice trembled. I agree. There was silence, then the beggar lifted his face toward her. His voice was gentle. Are you sure, my daughter? I don't want to be a burden. She bit her lip. My life has already become a burden. I just want rest. Uncle Emmanuel grinned triumphantly. Good, the wedding will be small. After all, who will waste money for a girl like you? The words burned, but she stayed still, because she had nothing left to fight with. That night, Amaka walked back to the incomplete building and sat on the cold cement floor for a long time. The moonlight poured through the open ceiling, illuminating her tear-streaked face. She hugged her knees tightly and whispered, Papa, I don't know if I am doing the right thing, but I have no strength left. Please, just guide me. Far away at the small hut where he lived, the blind beggar sat on his mat, tapping his fingers quietly, thinking about the girl who had agreed to marry him under pressure, under hunger, under fear. The girl who had shown kindness even when the world gave her none. He leaned back and whispered into the night, God, if I am right about her, let her not regret this choice. The village slept, but destiny was just waking up. The morning of Amaka's wedding arrived quietly, without celebration or joy. Harmattan winds swept across Umuogara village, carrying dust that clung to clothes, faces, and broken dreams. While other brides were awakened with songs and ululations, Amaka rose alone in the incomplete building, brushing sand from her wrapper as she prepared to marry a man she barely knew. She walked to her uncle's compound slowly, her heart heavy. The borrowed lace gown she wore had once been bright blue, but now it was faded, patched at the side and slightly loose. She tried to smile at herself in the cracked mirror, but the reflection felt like a stranger. By the time she reached the compound, a small crowd had already gathered. Women leaned on their hips, whispering loudly, their voices mixing with the sound of pots clanging and chickens running across the yard. So this is how Chick's daughter ended up? Marrying a blind beggar? Pride goeth before fall. Amaka kept her eyes on the ground. Underneath a small mango tree sat Brother Jude, the blind beggar. He wore a neatly washed shirt and simple trousers. His dark glasses hid his eyes, and his walking stick rested by his side. He sat quietly, calm, almost graceful, a stark contrast to the chaos around him. The village elder cleared his throat and signaled for the ceremony to begin. There was no music, no decorations, and no canopy, just a wooden tray with kola nut and a pot of smoky jollof rice cooking at one corner. Amaka, daughter of late Chike, the elder intoned, do you agree to take Jude as your husband, to care for him and walk with him in life? Her father's voice echoed in her heart. One day you will smell books, not engine oil. A tear slipped down her cheek. I agree, she whispered. The elder turned to Jude. Brother Jude, do you agree to take Amaka as your wife? I agree, he replied, his voice soft but steady. The elder blessed the kola nut, broke it, and prayed for their union. The crowd responded with a lukewarm, Issei, as if attending a ceremony they did not believe in. Uncle Emmanuel beamed proudly, shaking Jude's hand as though he had arranged a royal marriage. My brother's daughter is now a wife, he announced loudly. God has saved her. But Amaka knew he was celebrating his control, not her blessing. After a simple meal of rice and sachet water, the small reception ended. No music, no dancing, no joy. Jude gently tapped around with his walking stick and found Amaka's hand. Wife, he said softly, let's go home. A lump rose in her throat, but she nodded. She guided him slowly down the dusty road to the house he lived in, a tiny mud house at the far edge of the village. The compound was quiet. The room inside was simple but clean. A neatly spread bed on one side, a small mat on the floor, and a kerosene lamp resting on a wooden stool. You will sleep on the bed, Jude said gently. I will stay on the mat. Amaka blinked. No man had ever spoken to her with such consideration. No, we can manage the bed together, she replied timidly. He smiled faintly. Thank you. That night, when she closed her eyes beside him, she expected fear, but instead found an unexpected peace. Jude was respectful, gentle, and patient. He asked for nothing, demanded nothing, and touched her only when necessary. The world saw him as a beggar, but lying beside him, listening to his quiet breathing, Amaka felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safety. Little did she know that the man she married out of despair was far more than he appeared, and the life awaiting her was one the village could never imagine. The weeks after the wedding passed quietly. Amaka settled into married life slowly, learning to care for Jude with tenderness and patience. She cooked for him, read to him at night, guided him through the winding village paths, and defended him whenever the children mocked his blindness. But behind his calm face, Jude wrestled with a secret too heavy for his heart. One warm evening, as the sun melted into orange, Jude sat on the small wooden stool outside their hut. Amaka washed plates nearby, humming softly. Her voice carried a gentleness that always stirred something deep inside him. Amaka, he said suddenly. She looked up. Yes, my husband? There is something I need to tell you, or rather something I need to ask of you. Her brows furrowed with concern. What is it? Are you sick? Do you need medicine? He shook his head. No, but I received word that a doctor in the city might help with my eyes. He says there's a chance I might see again. Her heart leaped. Truly? Oh, that would be wonderful. Jude continued quietly, but the journey is long and I don't have much money left. Still, if you go with me, maybe God will help us. She didn't think twice. I will go with you, anywhere. A soft smile crossed his lips. Thank you. They left the village the next morning in an old bus. Amaka held his hand the entire trip, steadying him whenever the bus bounced on potholes. Dust blew into the bus through broken windows, but she didn't complain. When they arrived in the city, Amaka's eyes widened. Tall buildings glistened under the sun. Cars zoomed past at frightening speed. Everywhere felt loud, busy, powerful, nothing like the quiet paths of her village. But what amazed her most was how Jude seemed to know exactly where he was going. Turn left here, he told the driver. No, take the main road, he insisted. Yes, stop at that tall gate with white pillars. Amaka frowned. Husband, how do you know this place so well? He only smiled. Someone described it to me long ago. When they reached the gate, 2 security men stood guard. To Amaka's shock, they recognized Jude instantly. Welcome, sir, they greeted, bowing respectfully. Sir, she blinked, confused. Sir, to a poor blind man? They led them into a large compound with flowers, polished floors, glass windows, and a quiet elegance that made Amaka feel as if she had stepped into another world. Is this the hospital? She whispered. Yes, he said simply. For several days, Jude attended doctor appointments. Every morning, a car arrived to take him away, while a polite female staff member attended to Amaka, bringing her food, asking if she needed anything. But something felt strange. Staff members bowed slightly whenever they passed Jude. Everyone avoided speaking loudly in front of him. And nobody ever allowed Amaka to enter the doctor's office. One afternoon, a man in a suit approached her with documents. Madam, he said, your husband requested that you sign some legal papers. Formalities. In case of emergency. Emergency? She gasped. He smiled reassuringly. Nothing serious, just protocol. Amaka read slowly. The English was big, but she asked questions. The man watched her with growing respect. Most women he had seen in her position signed blindly, but Amaka read every line, struggling but determined. That evening, Jude called her to sit beside him on the bed. Amaka, he said softly, I want to ask you something, and I want the truth. She nodded. If one day you had the chance to leave this life of suffering, to marry a rich man, someone who could send you to school, give you everything, would you leave me? Her heart dropped. Why would you ask such a thing? Just answer, he insisted, voice slightly trembling. She swallowed hard and was, I won't lie. I want a better life. I want education. I want comfort, but, she touched his hand gently. I made vows before God. You are my husband, blind or rich, poor or wealthy. I cannot throw you away because of money. Jude's lips trembled. And if God wants to bless me, she continued softly, he will bless me where I am, with you. He breathed in sharply as though her words had pierced him. The next morning he went to the doctor again, but this time she waited longer than usual. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3. Then the door opened. A tall man stepped into the room. Clean-cut hair, elegant suit, sharp eyes. Amaka stood. Sorry, sir. I think I'm in the wrong. Amaka, the man said gently. Her breath stopped. That voice. Jude, she whispered. He nodded, eyes shining. My real name is Chief Jude Okafor, and I have something to show you. Something that will change everything. And as he stepped closer, the world Amaka knew began to unravel. The blind beggar was gone. In his place stood a billionaire. News travels fast in Umwagara. Before the convoy even reached the village border, rumors were already swirling like harmattan dust. They said the blind beggar regained his sight. No, they said he was never blind. He is a billionaire. Chike's daughter, that girl that slept in incomplete building, she's coming back in big motor. God of wonders, children abandoned their games and chased after the approaching vehicles. Women rushed inside to adjust their wrappers. Men straightened their shirts and combed their beards with their fingers. The dust rose as 3 black SUVs rolled into the village square. When the car doors opened, Chief Jude Okafor stepped out first, dressed in a rich navy blue senator wear that glistened under the sun. His once hidden eyes were clear, confident, steady, the eyes of a man who commanded boardrooms and industries. Then he stretched out his hand with pride, and Amaka stepped out. A hush fell over the entire village. She wore a simple but elegant cream gown, her natural hair styled beautifully. Her skin glowed with health. Her eyes held a quiet strength, a dignity shaped by fire and survival. This was not the girl who was chased out crying. This was a woman transformed. Mouths dropped. That is Amaka. Hizu. So our beggar was a billionaire in disguise? See her! She looks like a queen. Even her enemies stood frozen. Uncle Emmanuel pushed through the crowd, shock and fear battling on his face. His voice trembled. Maka, my daughter, welcome. She looked at him calmly. No anger, no pride, just a strength he could not stand against. Chief Jude stepped forward. His voice carried authority. My people of Umuagara, I came today to correct a wrong. You all saw me here as a blind beggar. Many of you walked past me. Some insulted me. But one girl, a girl you called cursed, showed me kindness. He took Amaka's hand gently. She chose me when she thought I had nothing. She married me when she believed I could offer her no future. Today, before all of you, I declare her not just my wife, but the CEO of my company's Nigerian branch. Gasps, shouts, stunned silence. Uncle Emmanuel dropped to his knees instantly. Amaka, please, forgive me, I didn't know. The devil used me. You are my brother's daughter. Help me. Help my children. I'm sorry. Tears welled in Amaka's eyes, but her voice was calm and firm. Uncle, you almost destroyed me. You called me a witch. You threw me out. I suffered. I starved. But Papa raised me to forgive. I won't harm you. But understand, I am no longer under your control." He bowed his head, shaking. Later, under the mango tree where her poor wedding had taken place, a ceremony unfolded as Chief Jude unveiled a signboard. Chica Memorial Academy, free education for orphans and the poor. Amaka touched the sign, tears falling softly. "Papa, your dream lives," she whispered. And as the villagers cheered, the girl once rejected stood tall, the cornerstone the builders had cast away. Amaka had returned, not as a victim, but as a blessing wrapped in destiny. Moral of the story: true worth is not found in wealth, beauty, or status, but in the purity of a person's heart. Those who reject, mock, or mistreat others because of their present condition often forget that destiny can change in a single moment. Kindness has a voice that God hears, and the stone the world rejects today may become the foundation of greatness tomorrow. Thank you for watching this emotional story. Amaka's journey reminds us that destiny can rise from the dust when we least expect it. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful, life-changing stories. God bless you.